right loan product for you and your family. Call me today to be pre-qualified to make the offer on your next dream home. 910-352-3373 or visit my website at lendwithben.com.
One Love Tennis started in 2013 to give back to young boys and girls. We now go through 460 kids a week that are learning about life skills, learning to succeed in life through academics and tennis. Putting those two together, if you do them well, you can write your own ticket. To get involved in this program, go to our website, one-love-tennis.org.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. We have an update on the identity of a man who was shot and killed in Brunswick County over the weekend. That shooting happened in the 9400 block of Night Harbor Drive just before 4 o'clock Sunday morning. Late yesterday, Leland police identified the victim as 21-year-old Quasi Walker of Lake Waccamaw. 19-year-old Devin Antone of Lake Waccamaw has been arrested and charged with assault with a deadly weapon with the intent to kill or inflict serious injury and first-degree kidnapping. Yet, police say Antone is not responsible for Walker's death. The case remains under investigation. 75 new jobs are headed to the Wilmington area now that Port City Logistics has invested millions of dollars in New Hanover County. The $16 million investment will go toward the construction of a high-velocity transload facility with cross-lock doors near the Port of Wilmington. Port City Logistics will also add a brokerage transportation office in downtown Wilmington. The new positions will have an average annual salary of nearly $65,000. 15 local nonprofits will be getting grant money from the New Hanover County Community Foundation. The foundation is giving away nearly $50,000 in grants ranging from $1,100 to more than $5,000. Some of the groups include A Safe Place, the Carousel Center, the YMCA of Southeastern North Carolina, the Brooklyn Arts Academy, and the Historic Wilmington Foundation. And in Carolina Beach, several law enforcement agencies gathered on the boardwalk for National Night Out. National Night Out is a community building campaign that promotes police and community partnerships. Last night, representatives from several law enforcement agencies set up along the boardwalk, including Carolina and Curie Beach Police, Carolina Beach Fire Department, New Hanover County Sheriff's Office, and North Carolina Wildlife. There was something for everyone, from a bouncy house for kids to getting up close and personal to emergency vehicles. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Another hot one on our hands as we go throughout the day today. Today we'll make 11 straight days with temperatures at or above 91 degrees as our highs climb into the middle 90s. Inland of the coast, upper 80s will do it for those coastal areas. Nice beach weather in store for us with a better chance for a few scattered showers and thunderstorms. Firing up this afternoon, many neighborhoods will remain dry and on the hot side as we head into the overnight hours, expecting quiet conditions as temperatures fall to the middle and upper 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Folks, you must visit Angie's Fresh Produce. 4447 Long Beach Road, Southport. Beautiful fresh produce at a great price. Angie's has just about every vegetable you want. In-store shopping and pickup, and all wheelchair accessible. Call Angie's Fresh Produce at 910-477-9068.
Here's 1 minute of tree knowledge in 30 seconds with K.O. Davis.
It's important that you have somebody, a trained professional, to trim your trees. There are these guys out there that just hack trees, and that's the worst thing in the world that you can do. Don't let somebody hat rack your trees. That's tree term for hat rack. You know how they just cut a tree and it looks like it's just got like a hat rack? These guys just go up and just cut the trees off, and they don't cut it back to the proper spot. Call us, because we care about your trees.
Visit KO'sCoastToCoastTree.com.
Don't let some yahoo hat rack your trees.
I am State Farm Agent Rob Renz, and I want to help you get to a better place. Visit us online at ilminsurance.com. That's ilminsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Okay.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, and I promise that name is not going to stay around forever. We're working on it, ladies and gentlemen. We're just operating at climate change speed, as you can tell. Anyway, with that in mind, I would like to welcome back to the show Miss Eden Gordon-Hill after I remind people to go to thebigtalker.live, download the app for Android and iOS devices, peruse our schedule of content, send us an email with any comments, questions, compliments, critiques, or concerns you may have, any or questions. And with that in mind, we have Miss Eden Gordon-Hill to make the morning a lot more fun than it could be otherwise.
Hey, thank you, TK. Good morning, Eastern North Carolina. Good morning, world. Good morning, the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 8:05 a.m. Eastern Time. It is Wednesday, August the 3rd. We have made it to Wednesday. And I am Eden Gordon-Hill. I am your morning hostess from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time weekdays here on the Asylum at Big Talker Network. And yes, TK is right. We are working on a new name for this show. We are eager to share that with you. We are going over lots of different phrases and ideas. But for all of you out there who have been following the show since I started, who are just amazing supporters to the show, to my work, to my passions for our country, for the American people, for our next generation, for our military, for our veterans, for our families, and our faith in the public square. You all know that freedom means everything to the show, to our audience, to Eastern North Carolina, to the state of North Carolina, and to my husband and I and our family. We are all about freedom. And I wanted to share with you, I am still in Chester County, Pennsylvania. I have been visiting family, and I'm headed to upstate New York tomorrow. I will be in upstate tomorrow evening, and then on Friday, Andrew Donaldson, another great show host with Big Talker Network, will be filling in for me on Friday. But before we head into the rest of the week, I was walking yesterday and I was contemplating, and I've been just meeting with friends and family and talking about what our country is facing. And I sat there and thought, from our nation's cornfields, which I am surrounded by right now, which is truly God's beautiful country, to the palm trees, to the intercoastal waterway that my husband and I and many of you have the opportunity to be surrounded by in Eastern North Carolina. You know, this whole agenda coming from Washington, D.C., coming from our nation's capital, coming from whatever is currently in the White House. And frankly, I don't know who's at the helm. I question who really is running our nation. I sat here and studied some of my father's books on President Calvin Coolidge and also President Dwight D. Eisenhower, just searching and seeking and wanting to find some true leadership that we can bring to the table, and just to remember those who led this great nation through very difficult times of war, through recession, through many different issues, and also looking to what is ahead in our nation, what is ahead this November, what is ahead for 2024. And I was reflecting on my walk yesterday, and I'm reflecting on being up here in Pennsylvania. Right now, I am noticing such a striking difference between being up here in the north and living in the south. I have noticed that people just do not want to look at one another. They don't even want to talk. They don't want to say hello, hold the door open, be kind, saying kind things to one another. And I thought, what a contrast to what is being pushed out from our federal government and what is being pushed down our throats as we are trying to get our kids into the best education, as we are trying to live and serve and be Americans and run our small businesses and have good farming and have a great education for our children, have a great opportunity to live the American dream. But instead, we are being dealt with the diversity, equity, and inclusion that is coming from the very top, trickling down. And it's infiltrating and bringing this disgusting pond scum that is coming from the swamp of Washington, D.C., and it's coming into our water systems, literally, and via the metaphoric aspect. It is destroying our nation. We are a nation under God. We are a nation of Americans. We are a nation that has come together to fight World War II, that came together to fight Vietnam, that came together to fight the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. And yet we are being told that we are not diverse enough, that diversity, equity, inclusion. What is that? What are you doing to us Americans as you are pushing this down our throats? We have now, and we're going to be talking with this in our 8:30 segment, but I look around, and the other day I said hello to a store clerk who was checking me out at Wegmans. I said, "Hello, Carol, how are you this morning?" And she looked at me like, "I can't believe you're actually talking to me." No one talks to me, no one makes eye contact with me, and no one thanks me. I think everyone has been so manipulated in this mind control that took place during the pandemic, and it's now transpiring over into 3-year-olds thinking that they are transgender. 3-year-olds. My point in saying this is, yesterday when we had Ginny Gentles on with Independent Women Forum, my point is when we had Donna Jackson on with Project 21, my point is, everybody is focused on the diversity, equity, and inclusion. But yet, we, the American people, don't want to hear it anymore. We are looking around afraid to talk to one another. Why can't we thank somebody? Why can't we talk to someone? Why do we have to look at it as anything else other than you are a human made in the image of God? This morning, I get up every morning. My husband and I, we always get up, we pray, we do our devotions. And I will tell you, I am going to read this because I believe in faith in the public square. Here's what the devotion was this morning: God's will for you. Don't worry about anything, but in everything, through prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. It went on to say, growing up, worrying was woven into the very fabric of this author's family and their home. Perhaps you, the American family, you, the mother, the single father, the grandparent, the guardian, the parent, share similar experiences, not to mention the 24/7 access we have to everybody else's worries through television, through the media, through social media, through your peers, through your associates, through your friends and your family. But this is what got me. According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, anxiety disorders are now the most common mental illness in the United States. Let me repeat that. Anxiety disorders are the most common mental illness in the United States. And they affect about 40 million adults 18 and over. That's more than 18% of our population. And unfortunately, due to the effects of COVID, the stress, the worry, the anxiety levels, it has dramatically increased, especially among teenagers. Think about that for a second. What are we doing to the fabric of our family life, to the fabric of our society? We are too worried about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and to follow the rules mandated by the federal government. And instead, we're losing what we're told to be kind, loving, lifting up one another, no matter what. And instead, we're being siloed. I look around and I am just frankly sick and tired of the fact that we are afraid to look at one another. We are afraid to talk to one another. We are afraid to engage with one another. Where did this fear come from? Well, I'll tell you where it came from. Pennsylvania Education Department claims 3-year-olds can identify as transgender. It came from this wokeness, this cult-like infiltration into the young minds of this generation. It's coming from an agenda by the left, is what I call the libtards. Thanks to my friends out there that gave me that name. I think that's a great name. They don't care about your child. They don't care about the next generation. Heck, they don't even care that Miss Pelosi is over in Taiwan right now, stirring the pot. All they care about is pushing this social agenda that is destroying the very fabric of the American family. Churches, are you going to rise up, or are you going to do what Donna Jackson mentioned yesterday? Remember, Christ Jesus died for all of us, not just for one color versus another. He died for every single person, and he forgives every single person. Why is it that I have to look at the news and see that transgenders are now 3-year-olds? Do 3-year-olds even know what that stands for? 3-year-olds are learning that mom and dad and their grandparents love them. 3-year-olds are learning that they are a child of God. 3-year-olds are learning how to read, how to understand, how to look at one another, understand a smile, and remove that mask. That mask is useless and you know it. But these poor children are struggling to learn because the great states of the North are still pushing the mask down people's throats. You and I both know those masks are ending up on the ground daily and they do nothing to prevent sickness. They actually increase the sickness, FYI. As I'm reading this article from Breitbart, it says, pure insanity. Yes, it is. The Pennsylvania Department of Education claims children as young as 3 can identify as transgender and lists their viable pronouns. Why? Why is this even necessary? The website for the department also advises teachers to ask students before assuming what a student preferred pronouns might be. Quote, in addition to the traditional pronouns, some people prefer to use gender-neutral pronouns. If you don't know a student's preferred personal pronoun, it's always best to ask, why are we even going to this level? It's no wonder people are afraid to look in one another's eyes because they don't even know how to address him as a perfect pronoun. Are you kidding me? There is so much confusion and chaos. Let me tell you something else. This article came out earlier this year, but it is so relevant as we head into our guests for this morning. We have Elizabeth Nader. She's with Common Sense Club of New Jersey. She's an author, speaker, writer, and she is a fierce advocate for our conservative values, our faith in the public square. She, along with many other candidates who are running for, she's not a candidate, excuse me, but she is supporting many America First candidates in the state of New Jersey who we've had on our show the past couple weeks. And we're going to be talking about what is happening. She's a mother. What is happening in our schools, the mask mandates, the continual state of affairs of our nation, the continued state of international affairs of our nation as we have seen Pelosi stirring the pot, but also what is happening with our national security and defending the homeland. An article that came out just a couple months ago, still very relevant, goes to this whole diversity, equity, and inclusion conversation that I want to continue to have with you as we go down this path as we head into November. As much as you don't like it, I don't like it. As much as you feel like it's being forced down our throats and forced into our life and the way that we live, we need to stop. We need to fight it. We don't need to engage it. We do not need to welcome it at our doorstep, into our homes, and especially not into our churches, our places of worship, our Bible studies, our nonprofit organizations. Let me read this article to you. The Grand Old Party, the GOP, decries cost of Pentagon, anti-extremism, and diversity training. Democrats respond that the training is crucial to the military readiness. I'll ask all of you who have served or who are serving. Do you think the promotion of diversity is really crucial to your training? I don't think so. It's why the recruitment is so low. For whoever is in the White House right now, that person or those persons, Mr. Obama, you are destroying our military. You have been destroying it. You have no idea what it is to serve. You have no idea what it is to go overseas and fight and watch your fellow brothers and sisters die at the hands of evil. You have no idea. So don't push down the diversity promotion in our military. Perhaps if you stopped doing this, our recruitment numbers could go up. But why in the world does a mom want to send her 18-year-old to join the service when she knows all you're going to do is focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion? You're not going to focus on defending the homeland. So let me tell you the numbers. Let me tell you the numbers. The top Republican of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Senator James M. Inhofe of Oklahoma, made public, and this was again a couple months ago, a recent letter from Army General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, indicating that the armed forces dedicated, are you ready for this? Nearly 6 million hours and about 1 million in additional expenses to the training sessions focused on promoting diversity. Most of that came during the, quote, February military stand down, when units at varying times of the month stopped their activities to have a conversation about race, violent extremism, and the importance of a apolitical military, the letter showed. But Milley's letter also put the large numbers of hours into context. Quote, this averages to just over 2 hours per service member and a total force of 2.46 million members. And it is comparable to other joint force periodic training requirements, he said. You know how we talked in the past couple weeks about we've had the lowest recruitment of our military since 1940, since before World War II. I can't help but think that this is one of the main reasons. We are in a very confusing state of mind and state of affairs for our nation. I think China is looking at us like we are the superpower, and you better be ready because we're coming for you. If you watch the news headlines daily, that's what it looks like. I miss leadership. I miss what Ronald Reagan brought to the table. Calvin Coolidge, Dwight D. Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, Ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country? That is still relevant today. And Donald Trump, though he did not serve in the United States military, he was a true commander-in-chief. He still is. And he will be yet again. It's 8:25 a.m. Eastern Time. It is Wednesday, August the 3rd. As we've been talking about these issues, what does the cost of freedom look like? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the American people, this is what it is unfolding to be. What are we going to do about it? One thing I know we'll be doing here on this morning show, we're going to be exposing the truth. We will continue to expose the truth. For this week, we have Elizabeth Nader. Today, 8:30. But before then, 9 o'clock. But before then, at 8:30, Dan Romand, Full Circle Fitness. And yes, we're going to be talking about the transgender conversations. Elizabeth Nader and I at 9 a.m. will be talking about Mrs. Pelosi. You know, I have watched many elected officials over the years, in my years of being in the marble halls of Congress to the White House to Office of Personnel Management. Mrs. Pelosi's been around for a long time. I say term limits first and foremost, and second, we have a woman in leadership who was raised in Baltimore politics and was raised around manipulating people for their money. That's what her father did, if you really read between the lines. So think about how she's manipulating the American people and her trip overseas. Finally, we will have Dr. Cahoon. He is an amazing man in his own right. And yes, a couple weeks ago, he was talking with TK, our producer, about hurricane readiness. And we're going to be talking to him about quite a few interesting things this morning at the 9:30 time period. It's 8:27 a.m. Eastern Time. It is Wednesday, August the 3rd. From the cornfields of Pennsylvania to the palm trees and the beautiful intercoastal waterway of Eastern North Carolina, I am Eden Gordon Hill, and I'm so honored to be here with you this morning. We hope that you will drop us a line. We love hearing from you. I have been receiving private text messages from all the different guests that we've been having on. We have guests who are asking to come back. And early next week, we will be bringing back to the show one of my favorites, Jonathan Emord, constitutional law attorney, author of The Authoritarians. We're going to be talking about your health rights, your health freedom, and the news of the week and what is ahead. We'll also be having, obviously, Paul Vallone, who joins us every Monday, and we're going to be talking about some heavy topic issues and what's going to be going on with our gun rights. And then throughout the week, I'm going to be bringing some new guests. I'm really excited to introduce you to many book authors that I've worked with over the years, and those who are serving our nation in many different capacities, those who have served. We are going to be featuring many amazing men and women who love this nation, who are American patriots, who are conservatives, who are fighting for this nation. I look forward to you joining us. And tomorrow, some Eastern North Carolina segments we will be focusing on. We will have Kathy Timmons. She is, in fact, a neighbor of mine, but also she is a part of the Community Bible Studies. And we're going to be talking with her and her area director. We look forward to you joining us tomorrow. TK, ready for the break. Ready when you are.
Well, with that in mind, my unhealthy self is going to pitch it to the commercials. We will be back with the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, right after these messages. Please don't go.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. We have an update on the identity of a man who was shot and killed in Brunswick County over the weekend. That shooting happened in the 9400 block of Night Harbor Drive just before 4 o'clock Sunday morning. Late yesterday, Leland police identified the victim as 21-year-old Quasi Walker of Lake Waccamaw. 19-year-old Devin Antone of Lake Waccamaw has been arrested and charged with assault with a deadly weapon with the intent to kill or inflict serious injury and first-degree kidnapping. Yet, police say Antone is not responsible for Walker's death. The case remains under investigation. 75 new jobs are headed to the Wilmington area now that Port City Logistics has invested millions of dollars in New Hanover County. The $16 million investment will go toward the construction of a high-velocity transload facility with cross-lock doors near the Port of Wilmington. Port City Logistics will also add a brokerage transportation office in downtown Wilmington. The new positions will have an average annual salary of nearly $65,000. 15 local nonprofits will be getting grant money from the New Hanover County Community Foundation. The foundation is giving away nearly $50,000 in grants ranging from $1,100 to more than $5,000. Some of the groups include A Safe Place, the Carousel Center, the YMCA of Southeastern North Carolina, the Brooklyn Arts Academy, and the Historic Wilmington Foundation. And in Carolina Beach, several law enforcement agencies gathered on the boardwalk for National Night Out. National Night Out is a community building campaign that promotes police and community partnerships. Last night, representatives from several law enforcement agencies set up along the boardwalk, including Carolina and Curie Beach Police, Carolina Beach Fire Department, New Hanover County Sheriff's Office, and North Carolina Wildlife. There was something for everyone, from a bouncy house for kids to getting up close and personal to emergency vehicles. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Another hot one on our hands as we go throughout the day today. Today we'll make 11 straight days with temperatures at or above 91 degrees as our highs climb into the middle 90s inland of the coast. Upper 80s will do it for those coastal areas. Nice beach weather in store for us with a better chance for a few scattered showers and thunderstorms. Firing up this afternoon, many neighborhoods will remain dry and on the hot side as we head into the overnight hours, expecting quiet conditions as temperatures fall to the middle and upper 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. Twomenandatruck.com.
The Boiling Spring Lakes Motel, located at 2 North Shore, is a peaceful and convenient place to stay. Newly renovated rooms with a comfortable back porch welcomes everyone. Discount rates are available to those who might need more time. Close to the beach, everything you need for a fun vacation. Call Stephanie at 910-845-2893. Boiling Spring Lakes Motel.
How far would you go if you had a group of strong, amazing people who support, motivate, and inspire one another to achieve their fitness goals and dreams? At Full Circle Fitness, we aren't just a place to work out. We're a community of amazing people who work together to reclaim our bodies and do things we thought we'd never be able to do again. Ready to set your fears aside and stop making excuses? Call today, Full Circle Fitness, 910-399-8350, or visit FullCircleFitnessNC.com.
I am State Farm Agent Rob Renz, and I want to help you get to a better place. Visit us online at ilminsurance.com. That's ilminsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Your show for Friday?
My
the
name,
new one?
Living Fit After 50.
Okay. Got it. What's the time period?
Friday, 1 p.m., 1 to 2.
Okay.
As you can tell, this is syndicated radio right here on the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Welcome back to your refuge. And now we're going to have a guest with us that's probably a little bit more aware of what's going on than the rest of us as far as health and fitness. And when we throw people under the, what do they call that, a lift bar. Anyway, take it away, guys. I'm just going to get the hell out the way.
Thanks, TK. Good morning, everyone. This is Eden Gordon Hill, and it is 8:34 a.m. Eastern Time. It is Wednesday, August the 3rd, and we have a returning guest who we just absolutely are so grateful to have, Dan Remain. Thank you for being here. Tell me about your new show.
Hey, Eden, thanks for having me again. Good to see you. Yeah, I'm super excited. My wife and I have been hosting a podcast for a few months now on YouTube, but we're hitting the big time. We're moving on over to the Big Talker Network. It's called Living Fit After 50. We talk all things health, fitness, mental improvement, financial. We'll be actually talking about that because that comes into your overall health and wellness. Yep. So lots of fun stuff. We've got, last I knew, my wife's been on a mission. She's got something like 12 or 13 guests lined up already from all across the spectrum. It's going to be Fridays from 1 to 2. Of course, the replays as well. But if you can tell, I'm a little excited about it. Really good stuff to come.
Oh, no, I'm so excited. Congratulations. I'm so looking forward to it. Well, I know we have a lot to talk about this morning, and I know you have quite a bit, but everyone who's tuning in, we are talking with Full Circle Fitness, North Carolina. You guys are basically based out of the Wilmington area. Is that correct?
Right. Our studio is in Wilmington, but we're actually based here, but we're worldwide. We train online, both fitness and nutrition. So you can we've had people on the West Coast, people in Denver, for example, people in New York. We've got people everywhere. So if you're looking for health and fitness help, we're here to help.
How long have you been around?
Believe it or not, we're going to hit our 9th year in November 2nd to be exact. I've actually been a trainer, though. You better sit down if you're not, since 1979.
Well, I'm not going to tell you I was only born a couple years before then.
Yeah, I always tell this story. I was a trainer before there was such a thing as trainers, really. I was working at the Albany Jewish Community Center as a camp counselor, believe it or not. But I used to work out in the gym. And the head person, I forget, fitness director, I'll call him that. That wasn't his title, but came over to me one day and he goes, "Can you show these two women how to use the equipment?" If you remember the old Universal machines. And they were two, in quotes, old women. They were probably 40. Mind you, I was about 14, 15. And long story short, I showed them how to use the equipment. They loved me. Next thing I know, they're bringing me gifts to help them train. And then they actually started paying me. So here I was, a young pup of 15, 16, training these older women at all probably mid-40s at most. And that's how my career started with that. And I did it part-time for about 3 decades. And then I decided I'm done with IT because I used to be an IT director and split off. And my wife and I opened Full Circle Fitness and away we went.
Well, there was something that you said to me when we were on commercial break, and you had mentioned that you were a former competitive rower.
Yes. I played football for about 20 years, and then I got too old because once you hit about 40, as I'm sure you know, football gets a little tough. And I was still looking to be competitive. I am hyper competitive. I will be honest about it. So I found rowing. So I started rowing, and the club I was with, which was Saratoga Rowing, I actually competed with a couple of them, but Saratoga Rowing was the one I ended up at. And we would compete at Worlds. I've been to Worlds. I've been to Nationals, U.S. Nationals as a master. So I've competed at that level, and I did that for, 8 years or so. And then, unfortunately, I had to set it aside because we opened Full Circle Fitness. So...
Well, let me ask you something. We were talking specifically on the break about the rowing aspect, and I know I didn't want to go really harshly into this topic, but it is a topic we need to talk about. What are your concerns about the transgender adoption into our sports, both for high school sports and professional sports? And you even jokingly said, "I'm going to put on some wigs, with our rowing team and go, compete." But at the end of the day, this is really becoming a greater issue. And like you heard in my early morning rant about the fact that Pennsylvania education is saying that ages 3 years old can now identify as transgender. How do 3 years old, they don't even know what that is. So let's talk. dig into this.
Yeah. So, I mean, from the transgender, look, if somebody is transgender, more power to them. I don't care. They can do whatever they want. It really doesn't matter to me. But when it comes to competition in sports, we have to acknowledge that there is a difference between someone who is a male or a female biologically. Now, I know they're talking about how you identify. I'm not going there. I'm talking specifically the human body here. So, to relate it to the rowing, for example, as I said, I competed at national level. The U.S. national women's champion for 3 years running rowed on the same course that we did when we practiced. I was in a men's 4. So the women's 8, double the rowers versus us. And we would compete because iron sharpens iron was what our coach always said. We competed every week as practice, and we would destroy them. Because we were male. I mean, they were actually, technically, they were better than us. They were better at rowing overall by a mile. All right. But just because of our strength and so on, we would destroy them. And, you know, you kind of alluded to some of the guys in that boat with me. We've joked about, well, we could go win easily the nationals or worlds if we got together and threw wigs on. We're joking, but because simply put, there is a physiological difference. And I know they talk about taking hormones and all that. It doesn't matter, Eden, because as you're growing up, men's bones are stronger, ligaments are stronger, muscle everybody knows about, but the overall human body is stronger. Yes, you can strip away testosterone by taking estrogen and so on and so forth, but that doesn't mitigate everything that happened as you grew up and went through puberty. And, you know, everybody talks about the swimmer, Leah, is it Thompson? Forgive me if I have the name wrong.
Yes.
She destroyed everybody. She beat them by somewhere around 35, 40 seconds. There's the proof. And again, my concern is that women are going to be pushed out. You look at Title IX going back 72, 73, somewhere in there, that gave women the opportunity to get, for example, scholarships. And I look at, and I'll use rowing as an example. Where I rowed, they regularly got a dozen, maybe at times 15, 20 Division I scholarships for the athletes that participated in the rowing. So we're talking to big schools too. We're talking Harvard, Cornell, schools like that. So now if you're going to allow men who are trans to compete, those women are going to get pushed out, plain and simple. And that concerns me as a father of, I have 3 sons, 3 daughters.
Okay.
I want them all to have the same equal opportunity.
Right.
And I strongly believe in that. My daughter would never be able to compete against my sons in that level, even if they're taking hormones and stuff like that. It's just not going to. My one son is 6'1". My tallest daughter is about 5'8". In rowing, as they say, you can't coach height. So that alone will make a difference.
Right.
So that's where I wanted to go with it and share my thoughts on it.
Yeah, no. Well, let's talk about this as you are running Full Circle Fitness North Carolina and that transgender conversation. Is it becoming more and more a daily topic of conversation as you are working with your different clients? And how are you as a gym are you being told you must do it like this, or you saying, no, I'm going to do it like this? How are you working within, obviously, the empty suit, pushing these types of things down to, the local areas, and especially in Wilmington?
I would say in our case, I'm the owner, so is my wife. We don't let politics come in the studio. We call it the Haven. So it's not in there. But having said that, we have had people who have asked about it. And we're very honest with them, Lowen. Well, we're not competing, so we welcome anyone. I don't care who they are. You can be whatever you want, identify, as long as you keep it to yourself. We just don't want you preaching to someone else. That within the studio. Outside, you can do whatever you want. That's your business, but you're there to work out. Now, we have never had a transgender person come in. They would be more than welcome. We have had many, many gay and lesbians come in. In fact, when we had our studio up north, about 25% of our clientele was either gay or lesbian, and they just felt comfortable there, and everyone got along because we all accepted one another, but there was no politics with it. And that's the key, right? We need to step out and take the politics away from all of this discussion, because it becomes too emotional at that. We need to look at, and you're going to laugh when I say this, we need to look at the science, right?
I'm going to laugh for a hot second.
Because, when everybody, certain groups, they love to quote science when it works in their favor, but when it doesn't, they don't want to go there, right? But for example, if you were to come into my studio, would it be reasonable for you to be able to expect to lift as much as I can? Not a chance, right? All things being equal. So we stress to people, and this is our philosophy, that you be you. You be the best you can be. Don't worry about someone else. Now, if you want to compete, that's a whole other level and a whole other conversation, because then I would have a different conversation. Like, okay, what are you looking to do? Where are you looking to compete? Here's the obstacles. And then we would train differently for that.
Well, let me ask you this. As you are pushing forward with Full Circle Fitness, NorthCarolina.com, and now you have Living Fit After 50, tell us about some of the guests that you have coming up. Tell us about, give us a sneak peek into what it's going to be looking like. And this is weekdays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Is that correct? It is weekdays?
Just Fridays, 1 to 2.
Oh, just Fridays. Just Fridays. Right. Okay. So every Friday.
Hey. If we take off, it might be weekdays. Who knows, right?
Well, you know what? Honestly, Dan, it would be phenomenal if you had the opportunity, because, with my opening rant and just seeing what is happening, being up here up north this week, I tell you what, Dan, I'm thankful we live in the great state of North Carolina, but what a striking difference of how people's gait, how they present themselves, their demeanor, and how the lack of interaction, the fear of talking to one another, this constant fear. And even my husband said to me yesterday, he called me after the show and he's like, "Are you doing okay?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine. I mean, I'm me." He's like, "No, you just seem a little different." I said, and I was processing and reflecting, like I mentioned on my walk, and I figured it out. I'm like, there is this oppressive state, if you will, of what is going on up here. And people just live in this kind of oppressive state. And whether it is the fact that you and I have the opportunity to have a lot cheaper gas down by us in North Carolina, and it's, still roughly right under $5 up here. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I do not want to have to get gas here, from that aspect of, the economy piece, but also the engagement piece of people. So
it's funny
yeah,
it's funny. I'm from Albany originally, so I'm well versed in here. I'm born and raised in Saratoga Springs for about 30 years before we moved. I moved in with my now wife, and then we moved here. I totally understand where you're coming from. It is a different way of life here in the Southeast. And I'm talking about people are more relaxed, much less stress here. People are more welcome and engaging of each other, I feel. And when you look at, and this is scientifically borne out, when you look at people's overall health and wellness, people in the South, Southeast, and to be fair, West Coast are generally healthier than the Northeast people. Funny story, not to get too sidetracked, but actually one of the guests we're going to be having on the show, his name is Greg Justice. He just wrote a book about Jack LaLanne. Greg is in his 60s. And I went out to a seminar where I met him in Kansas City. And I had to fly there from Albany. I flew into the Kansas City airport, which you've ever been to is one of the tiniest big city airports I've ever seen. Got off the plane, and I just wanted to grab a quick drink. So I walked into the store, and the woman goes, "You're from New York." Now, I had absolutely no identifying characteristics about me. I wasn't wearing like a Yankees jersey or anything, right? I said, "You're right. How do you know?" And she goes, "I can tell by the way you look and the way you walk." And I just cracked up.
There's a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, I had a really long conversation with her about it because it was really a lot of fun talking with her. And she's just like, "You guys are the most miserable people." And she was trying to be nice, but she was being blunt. And I went, "You are so correct." You know, she's like, "I can spot you guys a mile away." And it was a wonderful conversation, but you know, it speaks to what you're talking about. And, you know, and when we're talking about like on the podcast, we're going to be talking about stuff like that because I think it does matter. One of the things that we have a lot of people up in the Northeast that used to be clients of ours. And, you know, we've had these conversations with them because they'll say, "Well, what's different about there?" And we're like, people are happier. A lot of them are following us down. We're starting to find.
Yes. I mean, I noticed it. I noticed it in our neighborhood in Cedar Point. We have Pennsylvania right next to our home that just moved in, and we have Long Island that just moved in right down the street. And there, you know, and New York on the other side, another New York, you know, on the other side that have been there for years. But they are, you know, our area right in Cedar Point, and I know you could probably say the same thing. If my husband and I, if we put our house on the market, it'd be gone in a day or two.
Hours. In the neighborhood I'm in, which is over in the Myrtle Grove area, Wilmington, they don't even put the houses on the market now because the realtors all have a list of people looking to buy.
Yeah, they're lined up.
Yeah, so they just start calling the list, going, "I got a house for sale. I'll just use $200,000. You want it? Next one, and then one realtor told me that the third person on the list paid cash for it. I mean, it was.
I have no doubt. It
never hit the MLS.
Yeah. But going back to your point, go ahead.
Which point? I've made so many. You know, just in general health and wellness. You know, one of the things that we're going to focus on a lot is giving people information. The other thing, just quickly to talk about that we want to do, and this is my philosophy and has been, is I tell people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. Right.
Okay.
Everybody wants to hear, "Hey, take this pill and you'll lose 20 pounds," or, you know, "Do this juice cleanse," which is a load of crap. That literally, pun fully intended, that kind of stuff. We're going to debunk that. We've done that. We're also, you know, we're going to be bringing on guests who know their stuff. You know, Greg, I mentioned, he'll be on in a couple of weeks. He's been a trainer as long as I have. He's in the Training Hall of Fame, as a matter of fact. The first guest we'll have a couple of weeks from now is Art McDermott. He runs the Successful Aging Academy. We're going to have him on to talk about his programs and that kind of stuff. So we're going to be giving people information. My goal is, as I said, we give you the information. We give you the information you need. What you choose to do with it, that's on you.
Right.
But we're not going to, you know, we're cutting the media out, so to speak, because a lot of times when you start listening to the media, they're going to tell you what you want to hear because they're trying to get clicks, eyeballs, ratings, and so on and so forth, as you well know, as opposed to giving you factual information. COVID being the classic example of it. You heard them say, "Go get a shot." How about telling people to eat better and hit the gym and be healthier?
Yes, natural immunity all the way. Yep.
And we had Dr. Tony on the All Things Brunswick show last night. We were talking about that, how the CDC never talks about taking care of your body.
No, because they're not going to get money from it, Dan. You know that.
No, you just hit it. You hit it the nail right on the head. And we talked about that last night. It's all about the dollars. Nobody at the CDC or Big Pharma or in government is going to get any money if we all get healthy, or for that matter, the medical care system.
Exactly. That's exactly it. I know that there's a lot of caregivers, doctors, nurses, PAs out there who during the pandemic really, fought to not go along with the government rules and regs. They cared about the patient. They cared about the retirees. They cared about people's health. And that was very evident. I know my PA was very open and honest with me about that in regards to what had happened during that time frame and how the government tried to rule them and how they were going to handle things and get access to things. And at the end of the day, she said, no, I'm not doing it like this. Go ahead, find me. Find me. I'm not going to mention her name or cite her by any means, but she's a prime example of what had taken place. And, going back to the CDC and, Department of Health and all of those aspects, at the end of the day, Bill Gates and Fauci and, Biden and all of them, I really would like to know at the end of the day what their paychecks really have looked like and what they are seeking. I'm curious as to what they're going to be building next that will isolate us yet again as we head into the next and upcoming elections, because I'm waiting and watching it. And, one other thing, I know we got a wrap, boy, Dan, I could talk to you all day. One thing I want us to talk about when we, next week, when we get together, when we gather, I want to talk about the current person in office, in the Oval Office, and the mental health issue, the physical health issue.
Okay. I'd love to do that.
And I know Ronnie Jackson, who was Trump's doctor, I believe congressman, talked to this on one of the Fox Business shows last week. And, just the grave health concerns. So we look at the health concerns of what's going on in the White House. And then we say, are we sincerely only really one heartbeat away from that other person taking over? So I would love for us to dissect, the mental health, to the state of the presidency, no matter who's in office, the physical aspects of what we need to be looking for with a commander in chief and a leader, and especially Pelosi. She's 82 years old, Dan. Why is she traveling? I mean, hey, she's got a little spunk there, but I don't think all the marbles are working together. All the screws are a little loose with her having.
Helped her. Oops, did I say that out loud? I said this. I think the scotch helped her. The scotch and the vodka.
Oh, well, evidently, I was reading about her last night, having watched her all these years of being up there, but she doesn't drink coffee. I don't know what she drinks, but I think you just answered that question. TK is telling me we got to go. We got to go to break. It is 8:57 a.m. Eastern time. It is Wednesday, August the 3rd. And Dan, go ahead and pitch your show for tomorrow.
So it's Fridays at 1 p.m. Living Fit After 50. We're going to be talking all things health and fitness. And one quick thing I forgot to mention, it's called Living Fit After 50, but what we're talking about, I'll be honest with you, it applies to every age. It's just that we're going to focus on those over 50. So come join us. And if you have any questions, by the way, you'll be able to call in, much as we can call into your show. You'll be able to comment. We're going to ask questions live on the air if people have them, all sorts of fun stuff also. And my wife's a hoot, so you will get to.
I can't wait.
You'll get to see. She was a former professional clown, so you will get. She says you'll get to see the clown show also.
Oh my gosh! Oh, and tell us your website again for Full Circle Fitness. Where can they find you there?
Sure. It's Full Circle Fitness NC, as in NorthCarolina.com. And they can also find us at livingfitafter50.com. So either one of those and you'll get those.
And that is for Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern time. I apologize. I kept saying Thursday. I'm already in Friday mode.
I'm with you. I hear you. No worries.
Thank you for my show. So anyway, Dan, thanks so much for being here this morning. I look forward to talking with you next week.
So do I. Have a great day.
You too, sir. Hey, TK, take it away.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the refuge, the asylum, which is your refuge in a world gone mad. We'll be right back after these messages. During this time, please take the opportunity to peruse our website, download the app for Android and iOS devices, maybe send an email with any comments, questions, critiques, compliments you may have, and we'll be right back after these messages. You're tuned in to the Big Talker Network, Wilmington, North Carolina's premier internet station for news and talk radio programming. Find us online at bigtalker.live.
The left has hijacked our media, our culture, and our schools. Your children are taught to hate America. Your speech is censored. Your employer is woke, and you are being called racist. That's why I wrote a book showing you how to keep the left from dominating your life. The book is called Rules for Anti-Radicals, a practical handbook for defeating leftism. And it draws from my 28 years of grassroots leadership by empowering conservatives too often bullied into silence by the left. It's a comprehensive guide to beating leftism not only in politics, but in daily life. And it's not just for dedicated conservative activists, but also for anyone sick of getting beaten down by the woke mob. Whether it's your job, your school board, or your neighbors, you can win against woke. Get Rules for Anti-Radicals from Amazon or at rulesforantiradicals.com/radio. That's rulesforantiradicals.com/radio.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. We have an update on the identity of a man who was shot and killed in Brunswick County over the weekend. That shooting happened in the 9400 block of Night Harbor Drive just before 4 o'clock Sunday morning. Late yesterday, Leland police identified the victim as 21-year-old Quasi Walker of Lake Waccamaw. 19-year-old Devin Antone of Lake Waccamaw has been arrested and charged with assault with a deadly weapon with the intent to kill or inflict serious injury and first-degree kidnapping. Yet, police say Antone is not responsible for Walker's death. The case remains under investigation. 75 new jobs are headed to the Wilmington area now that Port City Logistics has invested millions of dollars in New Hanover County. The $16 million investment will go toward the construction of a high-velocity transload facility with cross-lock doors near the Port of Wilmington. Port City Logistics will also add a brokerage transportation office in downtown Wilmington. The new positions will have an average annual salary of nearly $65,000. 15 local nonprofits will be getting grant money from the New Hanover County Community Foundation. The foundation is giving away nearly $50,000 in grants ranging from $1,100 to more than $5,000. Some of the groups include A Safe Place, the Carousel Center, the YMCA of Southeastern North Carolina, the Brooklyn Arts Academy, and the Historic Wilmington Foundation. And in Carolina Beach, several law enforcement agencies gathered on the boardwalk for National Night Out. National Night Out is a community building campaign that promotes police and community partnerships. Last night, representatives from several law enforcement agencies set up along the boardwalk, including Carolina and Curie Beach Police, Carolina Beach Fire Department, New Hanover County Sheriff's Office, and North Carolina Wildlife. There was something for everyone, from a bouncy house for kids to getting up close and personal to emergency vehicles. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Another hot one on our hands as we go throughout the day today. Today we'll make 11 straight days with temperatures at or above 91 degrees as our highs climb into the middle 90s. Inland of the coast, upper 80s will do it for those coastal areas. Nice beach weather in store for us with a better chance for a few scattered showers and thunderstorms. Firing up this afternoon, many neighborhoods will remain dry and on the hot side as we head into the overnight hours, expecting quiet conditions as temperatures fall to the middle and upper 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
This show is also sponsored by Dr. Tony Maglione. Dr. Tony is a cardiologist practicing in Wilmington. He accepts Medicare patients, and his office is located across the street from New Hanover Regional Medical Center at 2032 17th Street. The office number is 202-1071. Dr. Tony is an author whose last book is Rules for Conservative Patriots, and it can be purchased on Amazon. His website is www.drtonymag.com.
Oh no, our roof is leaking and hurricane season is right around the corner. Don't let a leaky roof keep you up at night. Protect your home. Call Best Choice Roofing to schedule your free, yes, absolutely free roof inspection. Best Choice Roofing works with insurance or can repair the roof before the next storm, whether it's a full replacement or a repair. Choose the best. Call Best Choice Roofing at 910-228-5000 or go to bestchoiceroofing.com to book your appointment today.
I am State Farm Agent Rob Renz, and I want to help you get to a better place. Visit us online at ilminsurance.com. That's ilminsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
We should be able to get two more. It's funny how people don't respond.
We're live on the air on the Big Talker Network. Don't forget to visit the website at bigtalker.live. Download the app for Android and iOS devices. Peruse the schedule of content. Send us an email with any comments, questions, concerns, compliments, or critiques you may have. Take it away, Miss Eden Gordon-Hill.
Hi, good morning, Eastern North Carolina, and good morning. This is Eden Gordon-Hill. It is 9:05 a.m. Eastern Time. It is Wednesday, August the 3rd, and I have the wonderful honor to introduce you, our amazing audience, to Elizabeth Nader. She is a friend, she is a colleague, and she is with Common Sense Club in New Jersey in the Garden State. And let me just give you a little quick update about Elizabeth. She's a coach, she's an entrepreneur, she's an author, she's a speaker, and she is a wife and mother of 4 children. Elizabeth, thank you for being here.
Hi, Eden. It's great to see you. I'm pleased to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Oh, my pleasure. So let's talk about the Garden State. I mean, you already know that my grandparents, my mother's from Elmwood Park. I know you were in Morristown, New Jersey. And being right now in Chester County, we're not too far apart here. But I tell you what, there's a lot of stuff happening in these 2 states, especially New Jersey. And you are working with the Common Sense Club and Bill Spadia and a lot of our America First candidates who are running for Congress. Tell us about Common Sense Club.
There's so much going on in the state. So commonsenseclub.org, it is so exciting. It's the fastest growing social advocacy group in New Jersey. And when I say fastest growing, let me give you some numbers. We started it 9 months ago now. We are north of 65,000 members. And those are both people that donate and people that just join to be part of it. We're adding about 2,000 a week. It was started by Bill Spadia. He is our morning drive time radio host in New Jersey. He has 1.5 million listeners. And he's the guy that, you know, the past 2.5 years now, have been really just hell in New Jersey. I mean, people have suffered everywhere, but I tell you what, it's been tough under this governor. We have had a non-functioning government. We have had basically a tyrant in control, and the people really didn't have a voice and an outlet. And so Bill, having this massive audience, which grew exponentially during COVID, he was our voice, and he was amplifying the voice of everyone who was frustrated, parents, who are frustrated about the schools being closed and businesses being closed and frustrated over the restrictions and the mandates. I mean, you name it. So it became, you know, a place where we felt we had someone speaking out for us. And so he decided to start this social advocacy group last fall. Many of us jumped on board early. I was one of them to get on the founding board because I believed in it. And I got to tell you what, Eden, we have done some amazing things that we will talk about, but it is the harbinger of change. I mean, it is definitely the sign that people in New Jersey have had it, but they're also stepping up and they want their voice to be heard like never before.
You know what? Is there any way they can do it in the state of Pennsylvania? Because I'm looking and I've been, you know, I grew up in Pennsylvania politics, and my father raised me in local and state politics. Then I went on to work for Joe Pitts and Senator Rick Santorum, and I was sharing with our last guest. There's just this different space of Pennsylvania, and I'm not seeing, you know, this advocacy that you guys with Common Sense New Jersey are doing. You know, do you know if there's anything going on, not to put you on the spot, but do you know of other things like this equivalent to that the state of Pennsylvania may be working on or have started?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because we have had conversations about exporting this to other states. I mean, look, first of all, we have a lot of work to do in New Jersey, so we're very focused on that. But I'm part of these national patriot groups that grew out of the precinct committee strategy, which was started by Dan Schultz and Steve Stern. And that's all about getting people on precinct committee. We call it county committee in New Jersey, but that's the base of the party. So I did that when I started to get active. And so I'm part of these national groups that connect via that strategy. And they're looking seriously at Common Sense Club and what we're doing and saying, how can we export that? So are there groups doing this? In different flavors, but I got to tell you, we should talk about Pennsylvania because, you know, we're right next to each other and there's a lot I think that that we could do together. Let me give you a little more color on what we're doing because I think that's essentially what's made it so such a quick growing organization, so fast growing. So basically we growing out of the frustration of COVID and then some of the legislation that's come down in building this community, we had an opportunity to introduce legislation through some of our friendlies in the Senate and Assembly. And their first piece was a parental rights bill. Now, we looked at what Florida did. And granted, you know, people think it's easy in Florida. It's not a guarantee. They have to fight still for what they're doing. And
That's
were
exactly
not that long ago, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You are correct.
So they fought for this parental bill of rights and finally got it passed. We took a look at that and we said, you know, I think it's time to put that stake in the ground in New Jersey, being fully aware that we don't have the majority, being fully aware that it may not even get out of committee. But we did it and we put together 10 points and asked our Assembly and Senator friends to introduce this, a full bill. And one thing that we did was unique and it was amazing is we went to the citizens and we said, all right, here's a parental bill of rights, which by the way, I can't believe we have to write that. Like just put that in context of where we are today, that we actually have to make statements about what our rights are as parents with our children. But that aside, we went to the citizens, and we said, all right, sign this. I mean, it's a little bit of a gimmick because, of course, citizens don't sign bills. Citizens normally tell their legislators, hey, we want that bill. But we said, listen, come onto our website, commonsenseclub.org, sign that you say you support this, and we will send that email to your two Assembly people, your senator, and the governor. So we did that, and within 4 days, we had 40,000 signatures.
Wow.
And it was amazing. And it was a time when this spring, when the governor was really pushing, and still is, but really pushing this curriculum, this disgusting curriculum that got passed at the state education board in 2020 when no one was looking, teaching horrible things to kindergartners. I mean, things that I don't want to talk about on your show, but, you know, just really disgusting things in this curriculum. So when we did that, he sort of backed off and he said, well, we're going to need to take another look at this curriculum. And I mean, he's still pushing it, but we made an impact. And so this is an example of what we can do. Now, people can say, well, you're not going to get that bill passed. And I say, no, we keep trying and we keep doing this because the truth is next year, all those seats are up for election and we have a shot at the majority in the Senate. And in 25, the governor is up. So we need to prepare to start to pass great legislation. But the bottom line is, Eden, is that we are a voice for the people and amplifying their voice. And frankly, doing the work that the GOP should be doing. And they're not.
You said it. Yes. Well, you were one of the first people to know that I was running for State House when we saw each other back at CPAC. And, you know, post that time when we were together at CPAC, running for State House, trailblazing, grassroots, door knocking, 125 miles from Cedar Point to Cedar Island in Craven County, which includes one of the largest air stations for the Marine Corps, and then also for Camp Lejeune and Cherry Point. I found that there was such a disconnect between the so-called conservative parties that are in the Eastern North Carolina area, and actually what the constituents and the citizens were really talking about. And as you were talking more and more about Common Sense Club for New Jersey, I'm saying, can I take your template and get it going in North Carolina? Because there is a need, a necessity for this, because we have an empty suit in Raleigh. We sincerely do. And we may have those in the state house and Senate who are primarily Republican. We do have Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, who is Republican, great man. But at the end of the day, we need common sense North Carolina. I'm calling it right now. I am calling it right now. We need to have in our state. And so I want to keep talking about this with you, but let's dig a little bit deeper, because what I found on the campaign trail, my volunteers were primarily teenagers who still believe in America. Can you believe it? They have not been fully indoctrinated with everything that we don't want to talk about on here. But it's amazing what you'll get out of teenagers when you sit around and feed them pizza and Coke. True. I tell you what, one of them, and I shared this on my campaign speeches, especially with those in the audiences who were on the Board of Education. I said, hey, why is my teenagers telling me about the fact that they go to science class, a fish dies, and then a fish is reborn and becomes transgender? Okay, you guys are telling me that it is not here, but it is here. So digging in more to the parental rights that really was uncovered back during the pandemic is what I call it, and going into what Common Sense New Jersey is doing with the Parental Bill of Rights. What are some ways that, for our audience out there, it's 9:15 a.m. It is Wednesday, August the 6th. August the 3rd. We have Elizabeth Nader with us, and she is talking about Common Sense New Jersey. She is talking about parental rights. She is talking about what we are doing in our states to basically take back and fight for our parental rights. What are some things that you would like to tell our audience about? How did you get to the parental rights piece? What are some layman term application pieces for the parents that are listening in this morning that we can give them, or even the grandparents who may be guardians, things that they can think about as they head into the fall school year, which is literally right around the corner?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, I want to remind everybody that politics is local. So I want to encourage you to allow your voice to be heard at the school board, at the city council, especially school board. I think this is the year of the parent and the year of the school board, maybe the decade of that, right? I mean, you see what Youngkin did in Virginia. He ran on social conservative issues, but he ran on parental rights and, education. And so, first of all, your voice needs to be heard. And many of you should consider running for school board. And that's another thing commonsenseclub.org is doing, is looking at the open seats. And we're partnering with a group called Arise New Jersey to get people trained to run for school board. And we've gotten hundreds on those seats. And that's where change will happen. So I want to encourage people that their voice can be heard and to step out and talk about this. You need to pay attention, first of all. These things are sneaky. And I think the blessing of COVID, I thought I'd never say that, was that kids were home in New Jersey. They were on Zoom, and parents and guardians saw what they were being taught. And this is even the curriculum that was there before. And they said, what are you teaching these kids? And so there became this outcry of, wait a minute, we have issues with this. And then, of course, we had the mask issue, and it brought parents and guardians to the discussion. It brought them into the conversation. So the first thing I would say is you need to pay attention. You can't take for granted. I think that we have been living our lives and sending our kids to school and assuming that the schools, they've got this. And hey, there are a lot of great teachers. But let's be honest. The left has been infiltrating our schools in a slow march towards Marxism for 50 years.
Yes.
And in the meantime, we have been living our lives. And as economic pressures grow in this country, you've got parents with 2 jobs, dual income families who are busy. You've got people who, like me, who took their kids out of public school for a lot of reasons. So they're in private school. So we've the right has sort of abandoned the school in a lot of ways and done that, in a way that allowed this infiltration, and it's taken decades. So we have time to make up here, but but we've got to pay attention and understand what the ultimate goal here is. And so for parents, you've got to get involved. You've got to figure out what, I always say it's time, treasure, and talent. What is your unique gift? What are your unique abilities? And how can you bring that to the fight? And what are the things that you're concerned about? Some people enter this fight because they don't want to be told they have to vaccinate their children, or they want to be able to fight for an exemption that they're trying to take away. Some people enter this fight because of what's being taught in the curriculum. Some people enter this fight because of the data that they're taking from our kids and sharing, that we don't have privacy. I mean, it's so many aspects, right? And for each person, there's a different reason why they're entering the fight. But I plead to everyone, we need each one of you. We need each one of you.
Yes. Well, talk to us a little bit more about some of the candidates. Thank you to you for introducing us to Big Talker Network and the Asylum. We had Darius Mayfield on. We also had Frank on. And you have some amazing candidates that you, Common Sense New Jersey, are working with at the congressional level. Talk to us a little bit about that, how that organically came to be, of really getting America First candidates in front and working with them. And then also talk to us about your upcoming events, which I love the name of this, A Seat at the Table. I would love to hear more about those types of events and then the congressional candidate involvement for Common Sense New Jersey.
Yeah. So, commonsenseclub.org, again, please go see the website. We are definitely working as we can. We're a social advocacy group, so we can't endorse, but we're working with candidates from the standpoint of supporting their views, right? Supporting the policy views that they have. So we have 21 counties in New Jersey, and we have 12 congressional districts. We've got redistricted this year, which was a little tough for us. We had some red districts that went blue and some red districts that went redder, if you will. So the landscape has changed a little bit in New Jersey, but what you're finding is, I believe, especially the west and the south of Jersey, the truth is they are much more conservative than the nation understands. And a state as a whole is not as progressive as they would like you to believe. So you're seeing candidates step out, and you've talked to some of them who are America First candidates. And they aren't because of Trump per se. They are just because it's common sense. And I think, that's what works in the message, right? As they talk and as they distinguish themselves from their Democratic opponents, is we're talking about policies that are common sense for the country, that are common sense for businesses, that are common sense for parents, for the state. It's really not about, Republican, Democrat. Look, we're a two-party system. We're not going to have a third party. It's not going to work. So our vehicle is the GOP. But the reality is these candidates in New Jersey, and they have a tough go at it. I'm not going to say they don't. They're going to need to work really hard, even with the red wave, as they say. But their focus is, for the most part, these candidates are focused on common sense policy. I think, Eden, our nation has swung to such an extreme that there's such confusion coming out of DC. Look at this whole thing with Nancy Pelosi going to Taiwan, yet the White House doesn't support it. And then, you have the Pentagon saying we don't recognize Taiwan as their independence. And you have Nancy saying we support, and then you've got China threatening us and we don't say anything. I mean, the confusion and the weakness. So people are looking for leaders that say, listen, can we get back to what we are as Americans? Because Americans truly are common sense people. So we see that in the policy platforms of the people running for Congress. But they do need our help. The red wave, I think, is there for the nation. It's a little bit more of a fight in New Jersey, but we have some great candidates, and I think we're going to have some great outcomes. Now, I did want to just add in real quickly on that note. Again, politics are local, and the base of the party and the power in local. We have one of our first candidates who got on precinct committee and also now is running for city council as a common sense Republican. So we're going to start to see those candidates on a local level as well, which is really exciting.
That's wonderful. I'm glad you brought up the whole Nancy Pelosi piece. And I will tell you, I refer to her as something completely different other than the Speaker of the House. I was in the marble halls of Congress for too long to see the things that she did, the corruption that she brought to the table. And, I know we wanted to talk a lot about New Jersey, but at the national level and and my opening rant was a part of the state of confusion of what is happening in our nation. And everyone is just, trying to figure out what is going on in the Oval Office, who is actually in charge. And, at the end of the day, the disconnect between the Speaker, the disconnect between the Oval Office, the disconnect between the Pentagon, and it makes we are sitting ducks.
Yes.
And are we the superpower anymore? I don't think so, Elizabeth. I really don't.
Well, it's a depressing thought because, I'm a Reagan baby, right? And, I come from that love of country and, peace through strength and all of that. But I don't know that we are. And honestly, Eden, if China chose to take a move against us, I'm not sure that we would be able to handle that in the way that we could have, even 5 years ago. So it's a problem, but I'll tell you what the opportunity is. Every time there's a problem, there's an opportunity. The confusion coming out of DC and the mess that it is and the way that it's been exposed. And Trump certainly started that, exposing it. And we're seeing it play out now. They can't even hide how messed up everything is and how corrupt. It's a unifying force for us in this country, and it's unifying for patriots, and it's unifying for those who want a good future for their children. And so, I'm going to use that as a segue to our event, A Seat at the Table, that we started last year, April 28th, and now we're doing it again because it was so successful. Next April, we brought in national voices to New Jersey, which really hasn't been done before. We brought in the CPAC type event. With Matt Clapp, actually, Sebastian Gorka, Gordon Chang, all these national experts who are fighting for our country. We brought them into New Jersey because it's time for New Jersey to look beyond itself and be part of that national discourse and be part of that unification of saying, whatever's happening in DC, we've had it. We need to change it. We change it in our states, but we've got to lean on each other, Eden. And that's now the borders need to sort of dissolve a little bit. And we need to say, how do we help each other? I think New Jersey has been a silo for too long. I think that, we are exporting the cancer of Marxism and leftism and tyranny, and we need to stop it in New Jersey. And we want national help to do that. So A Seat at the Table, and people can go to asattnj.org. Last year's information is still there. We're about to switch it over. Our theme this year is Choose Freedom. And it's going to be incredible. And I just think it's a sign that people here, especially in the blue states, are dying for some national support. So it's a clarion call to the nation to unify in every state together against what's happening in DC. And you and I probably would agree we only have a few years left to do that. Otherwise, it's not going to come back.
Yes, there is such an urgency. I see it, from a faith standpoint, from a personal, my husband and I feel it, my husband's service to this nation, we both feel that urgency within our spirit, knowing that for such a time as this,
that's right.
We, between what you and Bill and the team of America First candidates with Common Sense New Jersey, what you guys are doing up there to what is happening all around our country. But I was mentioning earlier, and I know we're just about out of time, but I have noticed such an influx of Northerners fleeing down to North Carolina, to South Carolina, to Florida, looking for freedom, looking to, have those opportunities that have been stolen.
That's right. They have been stolen.
Yes.
Eden, we lost a third of our businesses and they're never coming back from what the mistakes made during COVID. We have a tyrant in power. And I got to tell you, he's changing the trajectory of families. I'll give you an example. I have 4 teenagers and we wanted them to stay in New Jersey and go to college in New Jersey so we could be close. And my oldest is about to head out to Nashville. And the second one coming up is about to be accepted to college in Florida. They want out and they want to be free. And frankly, Eden, I need them to be free. So until I can help fix New Jersey, I got to make sure my kids are free and protected.
Yes, most definitely. Well, Elizabeth Nader, Thank you for joining Big Talker this morning. Thank you for what you are doing with Common Sense New Jersey, the Parental Bill of Rights. Thank you for what you are doing with A Seat at the Table. And I'm ready to take your template and take it to North Carolina. So thank you so much for being here with us. We hope you will come back. And thank you for sending all of the amazing candidates our way. We just love talking about Jersey and what we can do to, at the cost of freedom, to fight for our freedoms. And so thank you for being a part of this fight.
Thank you, Eden. It's a pleasure, and I'm so glad we connected, and we are going to talk about North Carolina Common Sense Club NC, okay? So let's stay in touch and do that.
Yes, most definitely. Many blessings to you, my friend. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, TK.
Well, I did want to take a moment to... in our chat room, Miss Faircloth was asking about the CPS organization and the corruption within it. So it may be in our interest to see if we can't come up with some people on the inside of the CPS or have dealt with it. I'm not sure if she was trying to tie it into the conversation in New Jersey. In fact, I'm not even sure what corruption she's referring to. But the fact that she's engaging on the chat is a pretty big deal, and I'm pretty excited about it. So, you know, we're people are tuning in, people are engaging, people are becoming part of the conversation, and that's
great.
That's more than what we had before. And if we don't have a conversation, we're not going to get, you know, the answers that we're looking for. We're not going to be voting informed intelligently. We're just going to be kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
And keep putting Band-Aids on bullet wounds, right? You know, as long as we're hemorrhaging left and right, and we can't seem to get our collective, never mind, getting it together is just what we do here at the Big Talker. With that in mind, we're going to see you guys on the other side of the break. We're just going to do some news, weather, and, of course, some sponsorships. So please, don't go nowhere. The Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, will be right back.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. We have an update on the identity of a man who was shot and killed in Brunswick County over the weekend. That shooting happened in the 9400 block of Night Harbor Drive just before 4 o'clock Sunday morning. Late yesterday, Leland police identified the victim as 21-year-old Quasi Walker of Lake Waccamaw. 19-year-old Devin Antone of Lake Waccamaw has been arrested and charged with assault with a deadly weapon with the intent to kill or inflict serious injury and first-degree kidnapping. Yet, police say Antone is not responsible for Walker's death. The case remains under investigation. 75 new jobs are headed to the Wilmington area now that Port City Logistics has invested millions of dollars in New Hanover County. The $16 million investment will go toward the construction of a high-velocity transload facility with cross-lock doors near the Port of Wilmington. Port City Logistics will also add a brokerage transportation office in downtown Wilmington. The new positions will have an average annual salary of nearly $65,000. 15 local nonprofits will be getting grant money from the New Hanover County Community Foundation. The foundation is giving away nearly $50,000 in grants ranging from $1,100 to more than $5,000. Some of the groups include A Safe Place, the Carousel Center, the YMCA of Southeastern North Carolina, the Brooklyn Arts Academy, and the Historic Wilmington Foundation. And in Carolina Beach, several law enforcement agencies gathered on the boardwalk for National Night Out. National Night Out is a community building campaign that promotes police and community partnerships. Last night, representatives from several law enforcement agencies set up along the boardwalk, including Carolina and Curie Beach Police, Carolina Beach Fire Department, New Hanover County Sheriff's Office, and North Carolina Wildlife. There was something for everyone, from a bouncy house for kids to getting up close and personal to emergency vehicles. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Another hot one on our hands as we go throughout the day today. Today we'll make 11 straight days with temperatures at or above 91 degrees as our highs climb into the middle 90s inland of the coast. Upper 80s will do it for those coastal areas. Nice beach weather in store for us with a better chance for a few scattered showers and thunderstorms. Firing up this afternoon, many neighborhoods will remain dry and on the hot side as we head into the overnight hours, expecting quiet conditions as temperatures fall to the middle and upper 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by 2 Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to 2menandatruck.com. 2menandatruck.com.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you or a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
Teachers and parents, the North Carolina Symphony is here to support you as you carry on the education of your children and students. Take your kids on a free virtual field trip to the Symphony with a virtual education concert and companion student book. Go on a virtual journey to learn what makes music music with music by William Grant Still, Beethoven, Brahms, and more. Access the free video and student book with password 1932 at ncsymphony.org/virtual.
Listen to Tom Goolsby on The Chad Adams Show.
People with common sense know that the entire theory of socialism is one big lie.
The Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, right here on the Big Talker Network. Please visit the Big Talker website at bigtalker.live. You can download the apps for Android and iOS devices, peruse our schedule of content, and of course send an email with any comments, questions, compliments, concerns, or critiques you may have, or if you have any questions. And with that in mind, we're about to get on to the the educational section of our show with Dr. Larry Cahoon from the Cape Fear Riverwatch and Ms. Eden Gordon-Hill.
Hey, good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, August the 3rd, and I am Eden Gordon-Hill. I am your morning hostess from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time here at the Big Talker Network on the Asylum. But just FYI, we will be changing. We're in the works of rebranding and changing the name of this show. And Dr. Cahoon, thank you for being an amazing weekly guest. We're so glad to have you here this morning. What do you have on tap for us today?
Well, TK and I had an exchange yesterday, and it sounds like there are more questions about hurricanes. And since it is hurricane season, I guess that's a worthy thing to continue to talk about. There's a lot of useful information about hurricanes out there, and so why don't we cover some more of that?
Oh, that sounds great. I am grateful that you are willing to take the time to talk about hurricane readiness and preparation. I was in North Carolina during Florence. It was literally less than a year after my husband and I had gotten married. My husband is Army and National Guard, so he has worked on the front lines of the hurricanes in North Carolina. And Florence was a learning experience for me. And then right after that, I was asked to go to Camp Lejeune and work with the military housing unit and the contractors and work with our military families because many of them lost their homes. And as you and I both know, Lejeune is very much an older military base, and Marines are always the last to get the funding from the feds, especially when it comes to that aspect. And so, I saw a lot of the ins and outs from the home repair issues to just seeing the emotional toll it took on our community as a whole with hurricanes and the intensity of Florence. And at the end of the day, after running for State House this past May and really talking with our local officials and knowing hurricane readiness, knowing the emergency services team, knowing what we can do on the front lines with our local officials to help those all the new transplants coming to our area. One, having a communications plan. Two, knowing that your cell phone towers are going down and that you need to have some kind of communications plan. And then also talking about what kind of things do you need to have in stock and in storage in the event things get really bad. And do you stay at your home? or do you evacuate? So all of those topics I know are at the very forefront for those who have gone through the hurricane seasons and those who are new to the area. I really want to make sure that this audience that is following us both in Eastern North Carolina, around the globe, and I've been doing live shows from Chester County, Pennsylvania, and it's a very important topic. So Dr. Cahoon, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let you take the floor and just kind of go over some, great things for us to know and educational tips for us to know in preparation for this hurricane season.
Right, sure. Yeah, and I think what you just said encapsulates the experience a lot of us have had here going through hurricanes, and it illustrates the kinds of different factors that everyone should keep in mind. Florence, was a very important hurricane. We wouldn't call it a major hurricane in the sense that its wind speeds were only Category 1, Category 2. But one of the things we're learning is that wind speed alone, although that's important, and I'll touch on why, the rain event associated with Florence was catastrophic. And, once a tree breaches your roof or your roof comes off or something like that, or if you're in a low-lying area, and there's a lot of that in coastal North Carolina, you have a flooding problem. Here in Wilmington, we were actually an island for a while because of the flooding event. All the major roads at one point or another were closed. And it became very difficult to get supplies into Wilmington. People who had evacuated could not get back for quite a while. So, those are all factors to consider. And as you said, folks who've never been through one before, either because, they left town and evacuated and came back later, or because they've newly arrived in the area. And that's certainly true with the Marine base, because people rotate in and out of there every couple of years. If you haven't been through one, the message you have to hear over and over again is when the authorities tell you to do something, you should do it. These storms are not to be trifled with. I've been here for 40 years, and I've been through, I've lost count how many hurricanes. The big ones that I've been through were Fran and Floyd, Florence, the 3 Fs. But there were others. And Floyd and Florence were big flood events, although there was a fair bit of wind. Fran was more of a wind event. That was a Category 3. I remember coming out of the house the day after Fran blew through. It went through fairly quickly. It was mostly overnight, so you couldn't really see what was going on. Came out the next morning and surveyed the damage, and I remember being essentially in a state of shock because there was so much damage. My house got through fine. My neighborhood, was out of power, trees down all over the place. But there was a hell of a lot of damage all over the place, and the electric grid was destroyed. At that time, in 1996, that was the largest loss of power and damage to the electric grid the United States had suffered up until that time. We had crews coming in. Yeah, we had crews coming in from the entire eastern half of the United States to get the power system back up online. We had crews from Illinois, from Louisiana, from Pennsylvania coming in to restore power. They lost 4,000-something transformers alone. So, the damage was massive. And the sense of dislocation, we were cut off from communication.
Yes.
We couldn't get out of town, all of that sort of thing. If you're told to evacuate, and that's primarily for folks in low-lying areas and especially the beaches,
right?
Because the wind will do two things. Number one, it will drive storm surge. We know a lot about that, and we can predict storm surge now, and we'll tell you, okay, you better get off the beaches because you're going to get 10 feet of water or whatever coming over the beach, and you will be cut off. You are at risk of drowning. The other factor is wind damage to your homes and everything else, primarily trees falling down. Every now and then you get little tornadoes spinning off from all the turbulent flow of air and the wind event.
Yes.
During Florence, we had some number of tornadoes that spun off.
Yes. Yes.
Same thing with...
yes, we noticed that.
Yeah, and those little tornadoes are usually not big, massive things, but a tornado is pretty scary, and you can't predict those.
Right.
You can only give people warning that it could happen.
Right.
And, they happen instantaneously, and wham. So the really big danger from wind for most of us, once you get off the beaches and the low-lying areas, is trees coming down and damaging things. When they tell you to stay under cover, they really mean it.
Right.
Every year, people are killed by falling trees. They're driving around or they're outside, and wham. I've seen trees come down instantaneously. It's not just that they kind of tip over slowly. I've seen that too. But I've seen trees, big ones, just break and fall down. So you have to be very careful about that. And the wind also blows debris. I remember, I'm an adventurous sort of guy, right? So when Fran was happening, I wanted to go outside and look. And every time I stepped outside, I was still under cover, I'd hear a big bang. And one of those big long-leaf pine cones, the green ones that look like a bullet, about 6 inches long, would whack into something. And I'm thinking, oh, I better go back inside. So don't forget about wind-blown debris. Anything moving at 75 or 90 or 110 miles an hour is going to hurt you. So when the authorities tell you to stay under cover, do it. When they tell you to stay off the roads, do that. When they tell you to prepare for power outages, and that means having water and food and other necessities, medicines if you need them, fill your gas tanks beforehand.
Yes.
Do those things. After Florence. Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, go ahead. Finish up what you're going to say, and then I'll ask you the next question. Because I kind of want to get your future views of upcoming hurricanes.
Right. After Florence, I had filled my gas tanks, of course, because I'm a veteran of hurricanes, that is. And I had to drive around a little bit, and I remember seeing a gas line at Go Gas on South College that stretched about a mile. And this was only a day after the hurricane left, and I'm thinking, those numbnuts did not pay attention.
Right.
And now they're getting ready to fight with each other over gas. They had a policeman there at the station to prevent disorder. That's how dicey things were. People were desperate. Hurricanes can often bring out the best in people in terms of helping each other, and sometimes they bring out the worst. So
yeah. I noticed that during Florence. I noticed that as we came back, we stayed in Greenville. We evacuated, went coming from Cedar Point and went into Greenville. And my husband, being, the military mentality, okay, let's get back as soon as we can. And we were able, fortunately, to get back. I'm not going to tell you how we did it because we could probably get but at the end of the day, we did get back, thank God. And I noticed something for the retirees in our area, especially in the Cedar Point, Cape Carteret area. A lot of them had generators. A lot of them already knew how to be prepared. But the damage, it was interesting to see the damage. And like you said, the low-lying areas because of the rainfall and the storm surges and things of that nature. And so, going back to your comment, it brings out the best in people and helping communities. So many people came together to help one another. That was amazing to see. It kind of reminded me of my time when I lived in Washington, but also worked in New York, of post 9/11. You know, after tragedy of like that, community comes together. But at the end of the day, it also can bring out the worst in people. One, because you have the heat indexes, and it also can cause health issues because of people wanting to get things cleaned up, things of that nature. So that's another topic for another day, just to kind of really hone in on those points. But let me ask you this, from your standpoint. My husband keeps saying to me, we need to be prepared as we head into these upcoming hurricane seasons. He is of the mindset that they are going to just get worse, not go the other way. Can you talk about that, and what is that? Do you think that's really going to happen?
Yeah. Bear in mind that physically speaking, that is, in terms of the physics, hurricanes are gigantic heat engines. They suck heat out of hot ocean water, and they push it through evaporation and condensation and convection up into the upper atmosphere. And by moving from the equatorial regions generally toward the poles, they also move heat from the tropics up into the higher latitudes. And that's true across the globe. If you add more heat to the system, you're going to create more evaporation of hotter water. So there'll be a lot more water vapor to work with. The convection engine that drives hurricanes is then going to produce more rainfall.
Okay.
And because the convection will be stronger in many cases, you're going to have a stronger hurricane. When I talk about convection, I'm talking about the upward movement of hot air. It's hot near the surface. It expands, it rises, and as it rises, it expands further and then cools and precipitates the moisture. So we are beginning to be very confident that future hurricanes are going to be a lot rainier, and we've certainly seen that with some of these massive rain events. Florence was not the top rain event from a hurricane. Harvey, that hit Texas, was in excess of 50 inches of rain in many areas. It flooded Houston. It was catastrophic. And that one, similarly to Florence, stalled and basically rained for a very long time. Florence stalled. It moved very slowly, and we got 4 days of rain from it, and often quite intense. But it was the fact that the hurricane sat there and dropped all this moisture that made it so bad. We had a smaller storm, a weaker one, Matthew, in 2016, that also dropped a tremendous amount of rainfall. So, the rain event that a hurricane may get much worse with rising temperatures, and that means flooding risk. And one of the things that we're as a society, we're not yet prepared to deal with these massive rain events that occur inland. We're very good at handling the flooding possibilities from storm surge on the coast. We evacuate people, we have building standards, we have all of that, evacuation routes and so forth. The big surprise, in a sense, has been that inland areas that are low-lying are subject to catastrophic flooding from these storms, and we're not really prepared for that. Most of those areas, now Houston, is highly developed, but many of the areas inland in North Carolina are rural and poor. We're not prepared to cope with that. Those folks, in many cases, did not know that they needed to evacuate until it was happening, and by then it was often impossible. They don't have flood insurance much of the time, and, they're in low-lying areas, and so there's a tremendous amount of risk. And even if you get the people out, the property damage is catastrophic. These people lose their homes. The businesses that you find in those areas are destroyed. I've seen that myself riding around in these areas. So we have a problem in terms of thinking about the nature of these storms. Will they get stronger? There's a degree to which that depends on other factors. Where the storm starts, how close it is to the coast when it cooks up. I mean, we had a tropical storm a month ago, right? Colin.
Yep.
Happened right off South Carolina overnight on July 4th weekend. Boom, tropical storm. Woof. Fortunately, it didn't have time to get very strong. But what we're seeing is that hurricanes that form farther out over hot water, and the water is hot. It's getting hotter. Those storms often become very intense by the time they hit the coast. Now, one of the good things about North Carolina's coast, and I do not want people to misunderstand this and take the wrong message, but one of the things that protects us, in a sense, from being hit by Category 4, Category 5 hurricanes that make landfall at that strength is that hurricanes need a lot of heat to maintain that level of strength. They have to get that heat from the ocean, and as they move over the ocean, they are basically sucking heat out of that ocean. If the hot water is very deep, as it would be in the Gulf Stream or the loop current in the Gulf of Mexico, the storm can maintain or gain strength. Once it comes over shallower water, the water column, no matter how warm it is not all that deep. There's not that much total heat there. So when hurricanes approach the North Carolina coast, which has a broad continental shelf of shallow water going out 50 to 80 miles, depending on where you are.
Right.
The storm has time to weaken. And that's a pattern we've seen over and over again. Florence, 2 days from landfall, was a Category 4 storm, which would have been catastrophic. But it came in as maybe a Cat 2 and weakened fairly quickly to a Cat 1. So the wind damage was not as severe as it might have been. North Carolina does have a history of being hit by big storms. Don't get me wrong. Hazel in 1954 was a Cat 4, blowing 145 miles an hour. 17-foot storm surge. It basically obliterated the southeastern North Carolina coastline. I mean, all the structures were destroyed. That's still the benchmark.
Okay.
And that storm was moving fairly quickly. It didn't have time to weaken as it came in. It was moving fast. And that's, in a sense, that's your worst nightmare. A fast-moving, very powerful storm would have the capacity to hit the coast at Category 4, something like that. Slow-moving storm is going to weaken. But that doesn't prevent it from being a major rain event.
Right.
Hurricane Floyd in 1999 was at Category 5 strength off the coast of Georgia. And at that point, I told my wife, "Pack, we're leaving."
Right.
I've never evacuated from a hurricane, but I saw Category 5, and it's a day or two out. And then I watched as it weakened coming over the continental shelf along the coastline, down to Cat 4, down to Cat 3, down to Cat 2. And I said, no, we're staying put. And sure enough, it weakened down to, I think, about a Category 1, maybe a 2, depending on where you were. But when it made landfall, it was about a Cat 1. But again, it was a massive rain event. And so the primary damage from Floyd was the massive flooding. It killed a lot of people inland from the flooding. So you have to pay attention to those factors.
Okay.
When you make a decision to evacuate, you have to consider your personal situation. My wife had multiple sclerosis, and putting her up in a hotel was going to be not so good. We were going to have to go a long way and hard for her to travel, so on and so on. So my decision would be different than someone else's.
Sure. Dr. Cahoon.
And you got to think about kids, pets, and all that.
I wanted to let you know we have to wrap here very momentarily.
Yep.
TK just gave me the heads up. But Dr. Cahoon, when we have you back next week, I want to continue on in this conversation because we are just scratching the surface. And I think as we continue into the month of August, knowing that September and October are still very primary for hurricanes, I would love to have you continue on this conversation. I'm sitting here feeling like I'm back in college again, and I have 2 and 3 pages of notes from you just in this 30-minute conversation. Cool. And I'm grateful for you. So Dr. Larry Cahoon, we are grateful for your weekly call-in. We're grateful for what you bring to the table here at BigTalker.live, Big Talker Network on the Asylum. It is 9:58 a.m. Eastern Time. It is Wednesday, August the 3rd. And TK, is there anything else we have left right before we close out the show?
Just amazing guests. I'm very grateful for having Dr. Cahoon as well. I've learned more about our environment in our immediate area than I have in the 12 years I've been here. Still pushing ahead on Defenders Live coming on. We should have that running tonight. Voice and Pen is happening tonight at live at Ted's. All kinds of events. We're working on other things like maybe a new show title.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe some new logos, some new graphics, some new looks. So we're gonna be we're gonna keep. I don't know if I should even say this, but I will continue to progressively develop my station.
Thanks, TK. I hope you feel better tomorrow. Looking forward to being with you all again tomorrow. Everyone have a blessed day. Get out there and make it a great one.
See you then. You're tuned in to the Big Talker Network, Wilmington, North Carolina's premier internet station for news and talk radio programming. Find us online at BigTalker.live.
Hey, I'm Yael Osowski.
And I'm David Clement.
We're the host of Consumer Choice Radio, broadcasting every Saturday at 10 a.m. here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Consumer Choice Radio is a weekly conversation featuring the latest news, interviews, and expert analysis that covers consumer topics from around the world.
ConsumerChoiceRadio.com.
Folks, we all know ongoing road construction and traffic can weigh heavy on your vehicle. Since 2006,